Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this Monday edition of NMH at 1. I'm your host, Priska Agnolo, and thank you so much for joining us today. So we kick off today's program with footage shot by Claudia Reiter of supporters of the #EndSARS movement protesting in front of the Nigerian High Commission in Windhoek this morning. They are demanding an end to police brutality as well as better health and education systems for Nigerians. The social movement is also fighting police brutality in that country. Some of the protesters drew attention to the issues in Zimbabwe, which are of a similar nature. Do take a look.
Protection to all Nigerians. We want to go back home, not to go with fear. We want to go with all our mind, knowing that we are going to back to our father's land one day. Therefore, we need good quality education. We need good quality health care. We need good governance. It's time for Nigeria to rise. Nigeria is the giant of Africa. There must be constitutional reform. There must be restructuring in Nigeria. Constitution must be revisited again. And SARS. Police salary must be increased. We want responsive government. Nigeria, it is time for us to rise again. Like Bedlas, you will take some the mathematics. Stop the killing members in that nation.
Saying no to corruption, stop police brutality, stop the killing, the abductions. The same thing that is happening in Nigeria is the same thing that is happening in Harare right now. So that's why we are standing in solidarity with the people of Nigeria, because the same demon affecting Nigeria is the same demon that is affecting Zimbabwe. That's why we are standing in solidarity. The same people who are supposed to protect us are the same people who are killing us. So we say no to that, and Mnangagwa and Buhari must go if they cannot live to their standards and live to what they committed and they surrendered and the oath they took before they went into office. We're saying they must go, they must pack and go and put somebody who can handle the resources, who's not looting. Mnangagwa and his children, Buhari and his children, they are all looting the state resources. So we're saying Africa must rise, the youth must liberate.
One Nigeria, you say one people. One Nigeria! One people! Let us pray. You may be a Christian, a Muslim, an animist, or
And in this next contributed video, SWAPO loyalists are seen in a heated confrontation with supporters of the Rundu Urban Community Association RUCA in Tumweneni location over the weekend. The two formations are campaigning ahead of next month's regional and local authority elections.
Currently situation at Tumweneni, the Rukas and Swappers are fighting. This is current situation. Currently situation in Rundu Urban. Current situation in Rundu Urban. Ruka and Swapper are fighting. Swapper, they are the one who attacked the Ruka members. Now the Ruka members, they are getting crazy because they have been attacked. Now they have to fight back. They are going to fight back and they are fighting back. Yes. Because Swapper cannot take this nonsense. I mean, he cannot make this nonsense, No, he cannot come to our territory and start fighting. We fight them back. We give them what they deserve. We are no more tolerating this nonsense from Swapper. Swapper, your time is over. 30 years is over. 30 years is over. As you can see, people are tired. We are fighting back. We are fighting back. Stupid Swappers. And I can see this face is not original Swappers. They are Kufuts and the Yundo members. This is the currently situation in Tumweneni. This is currently situation in Tumweneni. We give Swapper what he deserves. We give him, we put him in his position.
So on Mondays, our COVID-19 monitor focuses on the latest broad picture for Namibia. By the 22nd of October, the country had tested more than 113,000 individuals, with 12,660 positive cases reported thus far. Of these patients, 1,748 are still in isolation. Close to 10,800 people have recovered, with only 2 new fatalities reported over the last 7 days. During this period, an average of almost 900 new test results were processed each day. More than 18,000 people have been quarantined since March. Less than 1,000 were in quarantine by Saturday. And over the 7 days up to Saturday, 764 people entered quarantine facilities, while 108 were discharged. Let's go for a quick ad break, and I'll be right back with more video inserts for today. And now we move into our third video insert shot by Kenya Kamboe. National African Students Association Vice President Paulus Vihemba talks to NMH at 1 about tomorrow's nationwide protests by student bodies who have joined hands to demand that NASAF and the Higher Education and Finance Ministries respond positively to their demands to address the various challenges students are faced with.
Mr. VM, I understand student bodies in the country have formed a united front whereby they are having a nationwide protest tomorrow. Can you just give us a brief explanation as to what's happening, what's going to happen?
Yes, it's true that nationwide the student have formed a united student movement that we are going to demonstrate nationwide in the 6 regions to discuss about the NSFAF crisis and also the crisis in the Ministry of Higher Education and Ministry of Finance. So literally that's what we are going to do. Each region have set up a steering committee to spearhead the demonstration. So the purpose of the demonstration is for us to demand and say, we want the Ministry of Higher Education and NSFAF and Finance to respond, to give a positive response to our demands that we are going to put in our petition. So the demonstration is going to go until when these officers respond to the demand that we have. So what are the demands that we are asking for? Number one, we are asking that the 2019 Namibian financial assistance policy, it need to be amended. Because why? Because we realize that the policy is dividing and discriminating and favoring some students and leaving out the other one. 2, we are saying that the NSFAF should bring back the regional offices back to the regions, because throughout this year, when they took back the offices, when they centralized the offices to Windhoek, the other regions they've been suffering in terms of communication. Thirdly, we are asking that NSFAF pay the full tuition fees and non-tuition of the student. Up to now, up in October now, the first year student, they only got 5,000 out of the 17,000. The senior student only get 10,000. So we are saying we are very worried we might be having the same issue like what happened in 2017. We might not be paid our tuition fees. And thirdly, we want the VTCs, the vocational training center. They should be given a contract of non-tuition fees also, because currently these people they don't get the tuition fees, which is very hard for them, especially those ones that are studying in the regions where they are not from. So we have a lot of issues that we want to come and address in upcoming on the demonstration, but we cannot mention it now. But what we are saying is that we are going to address all matters that have to do with NSFAF crisis, Ministry of Higher Education, and the Ministry of Finance.
Okay, can you briefly just tell me how psychologically these issues that you are raising are affecting the students in terms of their performance in pursuing their studies?
Look, this issue should be regarded as an issue of a concern that is affecting the Namibian youth and especially the student. The student, we are doing online classes now. Up to now, the student don't even have the learning material that it needs to. We are heading in examination, but you don't have those learning materials. How do we ensure that you go and write examination, you go and sit for examination when you don't have the pocket Wi-Fi, when you don't have a smartphone, when you don't have a laptop? So what we are saying that let them, the student be given that amount to buy even electricity for them to study and pay their rent, because we don't want a student to be chased because it did not pay the rents or any other things. So it's very depressing to find a student that is sleeping with hunger, or a student is not having toiletries. A student is being chased from a department because it did not pay the hostel fees. So that is it. That's how serious the matter is. So the Ministry of Higher Education in NSFAP, they need to give us a response. Otherwise, we are going to shut down the country. We are going to demonstrate until when we get the response from these officers.
Okay, thank you.
And now we move on to our newspaper dailies. Namibian Sun front page. In the NMH stable, Namibian Sun reports that President Hage Geingoob's praise of the United Nations for, among others, the decolonization of Namibia has triggered a vicious debate, with his detractors saying the country is miles away from shaking off the chains of colonialism and had also become fettered to new foreign masters since independence. Republican reports that between 11 and 30th of September, 300 tourists landed at the Hosea Kutako International Airport as part of the country's tourism revival strategy. Allgemeine Zeitung reports on the 75th anniversary of the United Nations, which was celebrated on Saturday. The UN officially came into existence on the 24th of October in 1945, when the UN Charter, agreed to 4 months earlier, came into force. Starting out with 51 original members, there are now 193, with South Sudan the latest to join in 2011. The Namibian reports that the state-owned Namibia Institute for Pathology has been advised to fire 2 of its senior managers found guilty of negligence and implementing unlawful decisions by their former CEO. New Era reports that a woman who lives in a tent at the Otoya temporary campsite in Walvis Bay was miraculously saved by the cries of her 3-year-old baby boy on Sunday after being attacked by 2 unknown masked men. And now we move on to the inside pages of the country's dailies. The Namibia Wildlife Resorts NWR has received a $40 million Namibian support grant from government, which it will partly use for its voluntary employee separation exercise and settling overdue supplier invoices. Republican reports that Cabinet has given the green light for gender-based violence to be declared a threat to humanity by the Namibian government. The Namibian reports that LPM leader Bernardo Swartboy says government's failure to effectively implement the decentralization policy is largely to blame for the mushrooming of informal settlements in urban areas. Allgemeine Zeitung reports on the seizing of Tamsin Hatukulipi's Mercedes-Benz SL65 AMG with the registration number FITLAS NA. The fish-rot accused luxury car is worth about 1.3 million Namibian dollars. New Era reports that police in Kavango West have arrested a 47-year-old man for murder after he allegedly assaulted and killed another man over a 20 Namibian dollar at Kaima village. And in other news, Namibian Sun reports that self-proclaimed prophet Shepherd Bushiri says he did nothing wrong. Bushiri, his wife Mary, and a member of his church appeared in the Pretoria Magistrates Court on Friday for a bail application, which is continuing today. Republican reports that affirmative repositioning movement firebrand Dr. Job Amupanda is pulling out all the stops as he seeks to fulfill his ambition of becoming mayor of Windhoek. Let's go for a quick ad break and I'll be right back to introduce our interview segment for today. And in our interview for the day, EU Ambassador to Namibia, Sinika Antila, sat down with Allgemeine Zeitung editor Frank Stephan, and they spoke about a range of issues related to the COVID-19 pandemic. Do enjoy.
Welcome. As you can see, I'm not alone in the studio. Welcome to our studio. It's a new studio, as you can see. It's Her Excellency Sinika Antila. She's the ambassador of the EU in Namibia. Welcome.
Thank you so much.
And obviously, we have invited her because we want a bit of an update on COVID. We have seen that over the past few days, Namibia has obviously been on the receiving end of a German reclassification in terms of COVID, which was obviously welcome for our tourism industry. But the reason why we actually invited you is we wanted to hear from you as an EU representative. How did you perceive COVID, number one? What was your approach to it, and what will it be in the near future?
Thank you so much. Of course, I have to start by expressing how big concern it is to the European Union that this pandemic is going around. It's affecting every country in the world, and in fact, at the moment in Europe, we are seeing, unfortunately, the second round, second wave of the pandemic. So everywhere we have to be very careful and follow all the instructions, wearing masks, washing our hands, and keep distance, social distancing. But the European Union, we have taken this seriously. We have extended a lot of support to our partners, like here in Namibia, as our COVID response. But we have to be careful and obey all of our rules everywhere.
Yeah. So as a EU representative, you obviously took note of the change in Robert Koch Institute's classification of Namibia and for Namibia. So obviously it does impact on us positively, hopefully in the near future. But where do you see it in the longer term for Africa as such? Southern Africa and Africa?
Well, it's a positive development, and it's a proof that what Namibia has been doing as action has been the right action to contain the pandemic here. You were very quick in setting up, lockdowns and rules, and you've been very successful now in containing the pandemic. And I checked yesterday the criteria what we are following in the European Council. One key criteria there is that how many new infections during the last 2 weeks per a population of 100,000 you have in the country. And yesterday's figure for Namibia was 26.7. So it is good. It's been going down. We follow the situation here in the EU delegation regularly, and we report to Brussels weekly, and then even weekly to the European Council. And it's been since August. Mid-August, it's been going down. Yeah. So it's been really good. This is a key criteria what the European Council, meaning the European Union member states. We have 27 member states, so they are following. Of course, also the other criteria is that how is the development during the last 14 days compared to the previous 14 days. Yeah. And as I said, since mid-August, this has been going down here, so very good. And the third criteria which we follow is the overall response to the COVID pandemic, meaning, how much testing you do, how do you do tracing of contacts of those who have been infected, how is your health system, and so on and so forth. Also, the capacity of Namibia in increasing the testing has improved a lot. And at the moment, I think it's been about 250 tests per 100,000 population per the last weeks. And these are the kind of issues that we follow. And if you refer to the European Union travel restrictions, temporary restrictions that the European Union Council made end of June, we follow this all the time, and the Council is every 2 weeks ready to review the situation. And originally there were like was it 13 countries on the list? Some of them were removed because the epidemiological situation in those countries get worse. Yeah. But we are ready to consider the list all the time, and now it looks good. Yeah. for the Namibia, as Robert Koch Institute from Germany already made a move. So next review is at the end of this month. So we will see then. But I must emphasize that it is the member states. Yeah, no, so it is the 27 member states, and generally the approach is very cautious. Yeah. Especially now when we see a second wave coming. So it's a cautious approach. But anyway, it will be reviewed. And we here in the EU delegation, we gather the facts and provide information for these decisions.
What worries me a bit, and maybe you can explain a bit more about that, is more than often Africa is seen as one country. And it is not. I mean, similar to EU that has so many member states, obviously Africa has more than 50 governments and states adding to it. And what makes it even more different, in my view, is the fact that such a huge portion of Africa is on the northern side of the hemisphere. So technically they would be pretty much following the same flu tendency as you would have in Europe, because it's obviously approaching winter now. Whereas we are approaching summer, and when Europe approached summer, their numbers went down as well.
Yes.
Is there that recognition at the EU level that you cannot sort of look at Southern Africa and say, okay, that might be going down, but we've got a second wave coming? No, the second wave is in the north, not in the south.
Definitely. You know, the review is based on facts. And we use epidemiological data from European Disease Control Center, ECDC, and the WHO. And if some country like Namibia, if you feel that ECDC data is not correct, you can present your own data. But until now, at least as far as I have noticed here, every day they provide this data. So we try to be very objective and base our decisions on facts. But we are 27 member countries, and then how this decision is implemented. It's implemented by the national authorities in each country.
So they give the okay, and then it's accumulated.
Yes. So then also that means also that if you are traveling, it's always good to check also that from that country, foreign ministry, home pages, what are the entry requirements. For instance, each country may still, on the health basis, introduce measures like quarantine or testing or whatever. So it's always important to check.
So is it possible for Namibians to go to Europe at this stage?
Really, at least now, if Germany has opened now, you can go to Germany, but there are still, there may be some other countries also who have opened, but you must check. If you go to France, you must check from the French authorities.
The reason why I'm asking is actually, let's say I'm booking a flight to Frankfurt.
Yes.
I mean, technically I'm in EU.
Yeah.
So who's going to check that I'm not going to France or Spain and returning via Frankfurt again, and possibly being a much bigger risk to Namibia than I would otherwise have been?
It's as I said, the national authorities and the border immigration, they do check. Okay. And that's why it's important, if you continue from Frankfurt to another country, it is important for you to check that other countries' measures, what they...
For Namibia, really.
Yes, so that you know, for instance, testing, how many hours before you have to have the PCR test and so on.
Okay. Then on a further item, I was at your home. I remember it was your first time you decided to do a presentation at your home right and early when the pandemic started, and you were helping the tourism sector financially with that impetus towards the tourism sector, trying to help people who are now suddenly found in need. Is there at this stage any new negotiation or new effort on behalf of the EU trying to not only help the tourism sector in Namibia, but possibly even in Zambia or Malawi or anything? Would you know more about that?
Well, I would start that we collaborate a lot with African countries and here in Namibia. And we have our ongoing programs like European Development Fund 11, where we support education, early childhood development, vocational training, and livestock development. And from our regional programs, for instance, what we call EPA implementation, which is a way to strengthen private sector and business environment and investment environment. So we try to use all these now to strengthen your economy here and create jobs. And we do support a lot also which are indirectly at least linked to the tourism development. Like we support a lot of community-based conservation efforts, community-based tourism, biodiversity of some, Save the Rhino Trust or something like that. And we know that they are very important to attract tourists because, and they work closely with the private tourist operators and lodges. And that is what we do. And we do have a dialogue all the time to see what is the situation. We also heard tourism operators and private sector and civil society operators recently, and in fact also this afternoon we are going to meet private sector representatives in different sectors to get the direct information. How is the COVID impacting, and what is it that we could do? Because as EU, we have the ongoing programs, and then we had the COVID response. We provided considerable additional budget support and also humanitarian support to Namibia. But we are also now planning and programming for the years to come, 21 to 27.
Exactly.
And this, what we do here in Namibia at the national level, in every country, it's happening. So based on the national interest and priorities and national development plans, then these plans are made. And then we have regional programs. We are also preparing them, like European Union SADC programs. Climate change is an important area here.
It's one big thing.
And we are looking forward now for, what we call Team Europe initiatives, where we combine our grant support from the EU and the member states. Like we have important member states, Germany, France, Portugal, Finland.
Depending where they've got their main focuses.
Yes, and we try to put these into the nice comprehensive package and get also investments from the banks, like European investment banks. So this is what we try to do, and in every country, this process is ongoing now. So we hope that everywhere COVID is the priority. How to now respond, how to use all our resources, programs to respond to this COVID crisis.
The big thing is, even in Europe, you don't really have a proper understanding. You can't have a proper understanding about how long this COVID-19 process might still take and what the real impact on your economies are on that side. What worries me sometimes is that people assume that, don't worry, when the time is right, Europe will help us. I'm just worried Europe won't be able to help themselves after a while. Who helps us then? Is that a concern at European level sometimes?
Europe is helping you already now.
No, I do understand that. Yeah.
because very quickly, the Namibian support, we announced it beginning of May here, the additional, 172 million Namibian dollars.
Exactly.
But at the global level, we provided 36 billion euros for Team Europe support. European Union.
That is for Africa.
Yeah, everywhere. Most of it, majority to Africa.
Yeah.
We support the development of vaccines.
Okay.
And we mobilized, together with the WHO, more resources to COVID. So, because we understand that we are in the same boat. So if African economies cannot survive, come up, it's bad for us also.
True, because eventually they'll start migrating towards Europe again.
Yes, and we were supposed to have the European Union Africa Summit this year, and due to COVID now it's postponed to next year. In a way it's good, because now we can plan together more. What are the priorities?
Yeah.
You know, European Union, we have, our Commission has certain priorities like, you know, of course, jobs, climate change and Green Deals, how we call it, digitalization, migration, peace and security. And now we have more time to consider.
And they tie in with the sustainable goals of the United Nations in any event.
And Paris Climate Agreement and biodiversity.
Okay.
And I'm very happy that here in Namibia, we are along the same line because climate change, biodiversity, sustainable development and jobs, they are very important goals
and
here.
Everybody knows, yeah.
Everybody knows, and it is also within the SADC region, so.
No, great. Yeah. So what would be your final thoughts or message to our listeners?
Well, my message is that let's continue to be very careful. We have to continue to contain this pandemic. So let's wear our masks, let's wash our hands, let's keep our social distancing, let's not go to crowded places without these protections. And if each of us, we make our own effort in this, then we will overcome this pandemic. And the European Union here in Namibia and in Africa will be standing by you.
Your Excellency, thank you for making the time to come in. It was not easy for you to always make the time, but thank you for making the time to come in and talk to us.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Ain't nothing but a party going on in here.
What a great and informative interview that was indeed. And on that note, we have reached the end of our show. I've been your host, Priska Nyolo, and thank you so much for watching NMH at 1. Do stay safe and enjoy the rest of your day, and a snapshot of the weather as well.